Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of 2024. It's episode 87 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show podcast. I am your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex. Joining me today are my usual suspects, Barry Stokes and Scott Williams. Barry, you're not in a van. Where are you?
No, I'm not. I made a special occasion to actually get home and do it. Not in a hotel this time. Even though I tried to, but obviously I got home in time, so that's good.
Congratulations, Scott Williams. You are reporting to us from a brand new location. Happy New Year to you, and congratulations on the new home.
Thank you very much.
So we are testing out the internet connection at Shez Williams for the very first time.
It should be fantastic. If not, there will be complaints to Vodafone. So yeah, let me know. Because I'll be fuming if not.
Well, thank you very much for everyone for joining us. We've got a lot to cover today, so I'll get straight into it. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms for Pod, for P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Like the video on YouTube if you are watching it on there. Subscribe to our channel and give us 5 stars on any platform that you are listening to on a podcast. So, Manager of the Week, we had, it was game week 20 we just had. So, game week 18, we had Mr. Tate Brown with 66 points. Well done, Tate. Jack Howcroft, game week 19. With 67 points. And in game week 20, we had a big scoring week. We had Nikola Vasovic with 99 points, just pipping the self-proclaimed FPL guru 97 points this week. I got a good week this week. But yeah, Salah captain did the business. What an up and down yo-yo of a game week that was for Salah. Everyone at halftime was devastated, and then at the full time he'd got an 18-point haul. So congratulations to all those managers of the week. And we have a manager of the month competition, to an award to give out to Marco Marinelli. Well done to Marco. 428 points for the month of December. Ali Farrell with John McGinn's chin, great name, only 2 points behind. Steve Cousins, what an absolute legend, Steve Cousins, right in their third place with 411. Sam Danby-Bailey, Callum Burnett, Jack Howcroft, all up there, finishing off the top 6. And Nicola coming in to finish off all the players that got over 400. Baz, you were 11th.
Yeah, I did thought after the first game week in December, I was like, I'm going to win December at month. No.
Yeah, I was 28th. And 28th, pod team was 33rd, and I think Scott Williams 38th.
Yeah, good month.
Yeah,
good month.
Good month.
Good job you don't care about FPL anymore.
It's okay. It's much better. Much better. Not caring about FPL. Might have a question about that later, I think.
That's a good idea. 101 points off Marco last month. It's a big month for Marco.
Yeah, but it would a better month. Probably Marco, to be fair, all around. Well done, Marco. Moving on.
Great time, Chris. So we have to do some focus on what we're going to do with Son and Salah. I think that's going to be one of the main conversation talking points that we've got this week. We're going to look at AFCON and the Asia Cup, some of the odds there. And yeah, just have a chat about some of the narratives that we've heard over Christmas. The last sort of 3 game weeks. Pretty sure Arsenal were going to win the league, and now they're falling apart. Man United were rubbish back, then rubbish again. It's been a fantastic few weeks for the media. I think everyone's been yo-yoing. Every City were out of it, then they're Club World Champions, and now they're favourites for the league again. Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it? That's been the Christmas period. But let's have a look at Mr. Krellin's fixture ticker for the next few game weeks. But before we do this, Baz, what was your favourite of the narratives over the Christmas period that has entertained you or shocked you or you've really got on board with? Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, City?
I think Chelsea.
Yeah. Oh, Chelsea, yeah.
Because they're back. Well, everyone says that. Said about Man U. But yeah, I think Chelsea, where they obviously were doing really good, and then last night against Borough, where they should have really won. Palmer obviously has had a shocker. But yeah, I think Chelsea, they're back and they're not.
They were back when they were 3-0 up against Luton and they nearly didn't win.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
I can't believe Luton didn't get more goals in the end in that game.
Yeah.
I think they would have about 3 times, didn't they? Scott, what's been your favourite?
Probably, obviously, Luke Littler's run to the darts final is pretty good.
Yeah.
No, not a darts podcast yet.
Yet we're going to do the All In Darts podcast, though. We're going to start that. Get on that before everyone else.
Great
does.
time to do it.
Yeah.
Narratives. Well, don't know. Give me some. I can't remember. It's been it.
Arsenal were going to win the league. Now they're falling apart and desperately to striker.
Yeah,
City are dead, and now the favourites.
I mean, anyone that says City's dead is an idiot. Like, they don't know football. Just don't know football. Then you should just go away and, I don't know, sit under a rock or put their head in some sand and say they're an ostrich, like Nigel Pearson did. Not just idiots. People like that. Go away. Arsenal, people just seem to get really giddy with Arsenal. They're allowed to just like win a game and like lose a game. Like, we don't have to say they're going to win the league if they win a game and they're not going to win the league. Just relax, chill out. I know people are quite Marmite of Arsenal. Arteta does annoy me, moany. But at the end of the day, I still think they can win the league. They're in the show and it's middle of January. So everyone just needs to calm down a bit. Just chill out. Get on your 2-week, New Year's fad, which is going to fail. Anyone listening to this, it will fail. None of you are going to succeed. But when it does fail, don't worry about it because it's life and it's there to be enjoyed, just like FPL.
Not motivational.
Voice of the people spoken.
The voice of the people.
You're going to fail at your New Year's resolution.
Everyone does, don't they?
You're a failure.
I will ask the question back because Scott's mentioned, like, obviously we just had a quick Arsenal narrative thing. And I was going to ask the question anyway, but they seem to be getting in front of the goal and creating one of the highest expected goals in the Premier League. Alan Shearer came out and was quite vocal, saying they're taking extra touches and not taking their chances. Is it quite simple? They just haven't got the clinical edge this season? Are they just not putting the ball in the back of the net? They're not taking enough shots? Do they need another striker, as seems to be the January transfer narrative at the moment? What do you think is going wrong with Arsenal?
I think it's just having a phase where it's not going right for them. Hopefully they can get out of it and not turn it into a massive patch where they're struggling for goals. And I just think they've got players to score goals, haven't they? Like, obviously Saka, Martinelli can obviously contribute. Trossard as well at Brighton, he did really well. And obviously in spells at Arsenal as well. And Nketiah's come up with some goals, and Jesus as well, even though he's not known for scoring. He's more known for his all-round play. But I think they shouldn't be really spending money. I know they're linked with Tony and stuff like that, and I don't think they'll sell in January. I think we'll probably get him in summer. But for me, I just think it's just a little, like, not a purple patch, because obviously that's purple patch is obviously a good one. It's just having
red patch.
Red patch, yeah, you could say that. But
I think the main problem they've got is they're 7th in the league in terms of goals scored, and they are 5th in the league in terms of XG. So, like, they're not exactly like, top, and they're not putting the ball in the net. I think it's just a phase for them, really, more than anything. The bigger drop off's been with Martinelli more than anybody, I think, this season. Saka's numbers. There's a thing going around about Saka's not been the same, and this, that, and the other. I mean, he pretty much has got exactly the same attacking output this season as he did last season in FPL. I'm pretty sure he's basically on the same points as he was at this time last year. It's like, so yeah, and he's one of the top 5 performing midfielders in the game. So I don't fully buy into that narrative. But let's have a look at the landscape for the next few game weeks, because this needs to be talked about. Everyone needs to know roughly what's going on and what's certainly going on, etc. So, Scott, pay attention. Ask me questions.
I am here. The only reason.
If you need to. Game week 21 through 24 is when AFCON and the Asia Cup are taking place. The long story short, there's a few permutations and this, that, and the other, but I'm just going to do the long story short for this. Everyone will miss 21 and 22 who are away with their nations, generally. If they get to the quarterfinals, let's just say, they'll miss game week 23. Probably, if they get to the semi-finals, they'll miss 23. If they get to the final, they'll miss game week 24. Rough rule of thumb, right? Some people might come back a bit earlier, some people might not, whatever. But that is the rough rule of thumb. So players like Salah and Son, they're playing for teams. We'll have a look at the odds in a minute that look like they're going to get to the knockout stages generally. So they'll miss 21, 22, and 23 almost certainly. 24's a maybe. Now, game week 25 now has a projection of potentially being a double game week. Now, we're waiting for this to be confirmed because it is within February and all the TV games have been announced for February, so it's not certain. But there's a chance that the Man City-Brentford game could go into there, and also Liverpool were potentially going to have a double game week in there as well if they make the Carabao Cup final, because the game against Luton would take place game week 26, will be moved back to game week 25. There's a chance that this will happen. If Liverpool make the Carabao Cup final, there's a chance they'll have a double game week in game week 25. If that doesn't happen, let's say the double game week in game week 25, let's say that's irrelevant. Game week 26 will be a blank game week. If Chelsea make the Carabao Cup final, I know they got beat by Bury yesterday. If they make the Carabao Cup final, then their game against Spurs in game week 26 won't happen. If Liverpool make the Carabao Cup final, their game against Luton won't happen. And if Fulham make the Carabao Cup final, then their game against Man United won't happen. So 25, potential double, 26, guaranteed blank for some people, whoever made the final. And then the FA Cup quarterfinals take place on game week 29. And at the moment, we've got 13 Premier League teams left in the FA Cup, I think something like that. But yeah, so we'll have to just wait and see. The projection is there'll be 4 blank games, but we'll have to wait and see. So that's how the landscape looks moving forward for the next 9 game weeks. I'm personally not sure how the game week 25. So it's big talk in the FPL community at the moment, this game week 25 double, and how we've got to have it in the back of our minds and plan for it. I'm not so sure, really, considering how they've released all of the fixtures already for TV. I think we're likely to see it a little bit later on in the season, these doubles. But one of the conversations that does happen, that has happened, is if Salah does make the final, and let's say the double isn't announced in game week 26, then he doesn't play for 4 weeks, just plays Brentford away, then blanks, then has Forest away, then has City at home, and then potentially blanks in game week 29. There's potential that we might not even need him back until game week 30. But who knows? Son, again, is somebody who, looking at all of the players that are coming back, is quite likely to be sacrificed by a lot of teams, because everyone's had Salah and Son, especially without having Haaland. I think Son's going to be the difficult player to fit back into our teams. Anyway, Barry, what do you make of what do you make of all this? Do you think there'll be doubles? Do you not? Have you read anything into this? What are your
I've read bits into it, but I just think it's a load of ramble, really, to be honest. It's very rare that you're going to get a double game week before game week 30, to be honest. I think but prominently every time I've been playing FPL for many years, there's always been a double game week, majority after game week 30, and there's not been a lot prior to that. So I'd be very shocked, similar to what you were saying about obviously TV and things like that. So yeah, I can't see it.
I think 34 and 37 are earmarked. The only reason why they might sort of shoehorn City and Liverpool in earlier is because they're both still obviously in Europe. And the amount of midweeks Liverpool will have, in particular being in the Europa League, will be heavily limited. So it's just, if you have zoned out at that point, to anyone who's listening, because you might have, just pay attention to how deep, in particular, Egypt are getting in AFCON, and pay attention for any double game week announcements, and pay attention to who makes the Carabao Cup final. Got you. Fine. Any questions, Scott?
No, sorry, Matt, zone out. I'm only kidding. No, great roundup, mate. Yeah, been interesting one. If they did do a double game week, that's a double game week for Salah if he's back. He's a bit juicy, isn't it? Brentford and Luton.
I think that's the big thing.
Can they bring games forward then?
Yeah, they can.
I didn't know that. Honestly, didn't know that.
Because it's been cancelled. If it gets cancelled, because it'll be cancelled after between game weeks 21 and 22. So semi-final 2 happens before game week 22. So they'll know that it's not going to happen in game week 26.
All right.
So they'll know that game's ruled out. So they'll just try and move it to any free midweek that they've got. And the only reason why I think it's worthwhile really paying attention to it is because of the lack of free midweeks for Liverpool moving forward, because they're going to hopefully make a run in Europe for them. So then they're going to struggle because Europa League's got they've got an extra round, haven't they, in Europa League compared to the Champions League. Baz, have you bet on the Asia Cup? I know you've already mentioned about AFCON. Have you? Who do you think's going to win the Asia Cup?
Probably out of the betting stands there, to be honest. I think Japan 2-1. I can't see anything different to that. I like our Iran played. Obviously, they beat Wales in the World Cup. Obviously, so they could be a good outside chance. So yeah, I think. And South Korea was quite boring as Wales, but I know it was a friendly. But yeah, it was 0-0. So
it seems like it's Japan quite comfortably favourites, and then South Korea second favourites, which obviously means they're predicting that these guys will be getting quite far in the tournament generally, which will obviously affect Son coming back there. Scott, are you trying to read it?
No, just looking. Yeah, I would say look at Saudi Arabia. They didn't know how to turn up at tournaments and beat future world champions and whatnot. And surely some of them have got better with all the players we've shipped over there to help them out. So yeah, maybe put £2.50 each way on Saudi Arabia. You'll lose, but have a go.
they're all
watch the people again.
They're all coming back over anyway. Everyone that went over there now, aren't they? For Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan Henderson. Yeah.
Just go to Ajax and get relegated, mate. So, Africa Cup of Nations. Who have you bet on, Baz? Sorry, did you say?
I'm tempted to buy Nigeria because I don't think any of the Northern African teams are going to win, especially because it's based in Ivory Coast and they haven't done that for a while because it's obviously a bit hotter there. So for me, I think be either Nigeria or maybe the host, Ivory Coast.
Scott, your thoughts?
Don't rule out Cape Verde. Watch this space.
Big like that. £2.50 each way on that, or is it just £1?
£5 each way on that.
£5 each way on 100 to 1.
Yeah.
The big odds that we have to pay attention to are Egypt's. Obviously, they were finalists last time and they lose on pens to Senegal, didn't they? So they are 5th favourites, and there's quite we've just got to bear in mind from an FPL perspective that Salah might be back a little bit sooner than game week 24. He might be back 23. He might be back for 24. If he's back 24 for a double in 25, for an example, we don't want to go without him. So we aren't short of cash this year, but still, there you go. So there are the odds. So let's have a look at the fixtures, shall we?
I'll be short of cash when I can finally get him out of my team.
You love my cash. Everyone loves my cash. That's the predicted points. I'm going to have a look at fixtures, and when I do click on this, I'm a shambles at sorting this out, aren't I? I delayed our podcast start by 15 minutes by just clicking buttons, so that's definitely my fault. But let's have a look at the FDR.
I just think that really exciting Friday night fixture. Anyway, carry on.
Was it Burnley? Is it Burnley?
Burnley Luton.
Burnley Luton.
What a game! Championship. I mean, that was FPL, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a relegation 6-pointer. I don't know. They're both getting relegated anyway, probably. So, Arsenal have got 2 good fixtures coming up: Crystal Palace at home and then Forest away. So they're first on our list for potential replacements for Salah and Son, because that's what we're going to go down the line of here. Villa have got Everton away, Newcastle at home, and then Sheffield United away. So again, not bad fixtures. Newcastle away from home are a bit rubbish, and Villa at home are pretty good. Until I jinxed them against Sheffield United for a draw. But there you go. Bournemouth have got a slightly tougher 2 fixtures. Mr. Tony will be back, won't he? For Forest at home. They do have them Spurs away and City at home, so I can't see a lot of people bringing him in. They've got sort of 3 games here to watch him, I think, before making a decision moving forward. The big run of fixtures that's pretty amazing, as Baz knows from bringing a Stupinian in for the 18th time this season. You've used all your free transfers on doing the okie dokie with that bloke. But their run of fixtures are Wolves at home, Luton away. I mean, I know that's a tough fixture, Scott. Palace at home, Spurs away, Sheffield United away, Everton at home, and then Fulham away. Pretty tasty 7 games. I think it even runs on a little bit further than that, doesn't it? So we're going to have a little focus on Brighton. So we've got Arsenal, potentially Villa. We've got Brighton. Other Liverpool assets we'll have a look at as well. Man United have got a decent run of fixtures. Sorry to mention them, everybody. But there is a player from there that I will be mentioning. So just so you're aware. And then you've got West Ham with a good run there. So
Does he rhyme with Ranaccio?
Shocker, yeah, he does.
The only player playing any good.
Yeah, and he's playing very good. And,
playing very good.
Not just scoring worldies. Well, his name doesn't rhyme with Ivan Toney, that's for sure. Predicted points for this next run of fixtures. So I've done a prediction on the algorithm for Fantasy Football Hub for game weeks 21 through 24. Mr. Saka is at the top, predicted points of 24. Then it's Anthony Gordon, Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Bruno Fernandes, who is always really high on these predicted points, always, because his XGI and all this is pretty crazy. Ødegaard, Eze, Gross, Bowen is all the way down there, and then Raheem Sterling, even without his injury, Bowen's down there. Baz, Salah and Son. Talk to me about replacements, and then at the end of you talking to me about replacements, I'm going to go to Scott, and then I'm going to get you to nail your colours to the mast of the 2 players that you would pick out of all of these. Just preparing Scott for who you would pick to replace.
Obviously I'm not a Saka owner, so Saka's obviously potential on my radar to look at. I'm already a Foden owner. Not going to touch Man U because they're so unpredictable. Gordon, I think Newcastle were going through that patch where they were unsure about how good they're going to be playing, so I'm probably going to stay away from that. I own Palmer. Ødegaard hasn't been the same as he really. So, Pascal Gross and Kevin De Bruyne. There you go. There's 3. I think we'll be all right.
You're looking at De Bruyne. Talk to me about Kevin. Talk to me. Like, convince me to gamble on De Bruyne.
It's Kevin De Bruyne, isn't it? You know what's going to happen, even if he comes off the bench like he did in the FA Cup. He'll get an assist. He technically got 2 because obviously I think he caused the own goal as well. I think so. So he's just a threat, and he's just creates so much, especially if Haaland's back as well. They had a great relationship back end of the season, and if that catches fire again, you want to have both of them players, 100%, or you're not going to win anything in your mini leagues or get it game ranks or whatever you want to achieve in FPL. So, yeah.
Scott, your thoughts on players to bring in for Salah and Son? Who's been on your radar?
Yeah, I was actually chatting about Kevin De Bruyne today with James at work, and I think he's bringing him in. He was saying, and we had the exact same conversation. You know, he plays half an hour, he can still come on and do something, especially when teams are getting tired. I'm not a Cole Palmer holder, so if I was, I might be manager of the week. So it's probably someone I'm going to look in more. That Fulham at home fixture is that. Yeah, Fulham at home is a nice fixture. Sorry, yeah. James. And then obviously Liverpool away is tough, but Wolves at home, Palace away is all right. So for me, I'll be bringing probably Cole Palmer in. and I kind of do want to roll the dice on KDB. I did it last year, the year before. I gambled on KDB, and then he got like a hat trick against Leeds or something like that. He really returned against Leeds.
Was it Leeds? I know,
Yeah,
he did a Wolves return, didn't he?
He clawed me back into having a little chance of a look. I would say look at the table now. If you need a bit of a gamble player I'll use one of Alex's favourite sayings, their ceiling is high. You've got that with Kevin De Bruyne. He can haul, he can get three assists and a goal. And before you know it, actually, everyone's scrambling to get him in. You've got him in and you've caught up. So I think he's a player to bring in if you wanted to look at doing that catch up. Maybe not for when you're at the top because you're risking it with minutes. But I think maybe for me, a Palmer and a De Bruyne.
He's an interesting placeholder, Kevin De Bruyne, as well, because it means that you're not going to spend your money, and he's probably only going to go up in price. So we have so much money. I mean, I've got a graphic that I'll show you in a second, but we can afford anyone we want for the next 4 weeks that are fit, but depending on Haaland, obviously. We can afford literally anybody we want who's declared fit currently on the FPL game. The only thing I will say, and I did ask you to have a think about this, Baz, anyway, for the podcast. But if, let's say, for example, it gets to game week 25 and City do have a double game week and Salah does have a double game week as well, Saka plays Burnley away. Are we selling De Bruyne even though he's got a double game week because he's a minute's risk, or who are you sacrificing? Like how would you navigate that potential situation? Let's say you've got Foden as well, maybe, I don't know. How would you navigate the situation?
So as you mentioned, that obviously you'd know probably around game week 22, maybe.
23, you'd know if there's a double in 25.
So I would probably bank a transfer on 24, have two transfers going into that game week, and then get rid of like quite an expensive defender, for example, and put like a Charlie Taylor in or something like that, and then potentially get rid of one of my expensive midfielders, but not too expensive. So someone that I can potentially get to Salah if I can, but it's highly unlikely that's going to potentially happen. So I'll probably have to go for two expensive midfielders where their fixtures are changing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's how I would potentially go for it, is go for two transfers and potentially work out how to do it with them, just them two transfers, and not take a hit. But if I have to take a hit, then it's probably worth it if I've got a double game week. As Scott mentioned, it's a very tasty Liverpool double game week, so you don't want to be missing out on that.
I agree. Brentford away and Luton at home, you're taking a -4 to get Salah, and you probably captained him for that double game week as well, considering City's would be Chelsea and Brentford. I mean, it's definitely better Brentford and Luton, isn't it? Especially when it's would be Luton at home. The other thing to bear in mind is, and just to say before we move on again, if Egypt don't make the final, game week 24 is Liverpool have got Burnley at home, so it's just reserving those funds to make sure that you've got some to be able to revert back to. Do you want to see my fun graphic that I've got about you can afford anyone you want? You seen this? And this is, you've got, how much have you got in the bank on this? I can't even remember. I've covered, I can't see it because it's covered up.
0.6.
0.6 in the bank, thank you. And this is with playing defenders, playing bench. So Trusty, Mengi, Dubravka and Archer on your bench. These are the most expensive players on the game that are playing at the moment. Trips, Virgil, Porro, Alisson, Bowen, De Bruyne. I mean, Bowen's flagged now, so you go with someone even cheaper. But De Bruyne, Saka, Rashford, Ødegaard, Tony and Watkins. So you can literally buy anyone you want, as long as I think it's crazy, but we can buy anyone we want. But I think we're just going to be feels just so template still. The way I look at it as well for midfielders is if you don't have Palmer, you should have Palmer. So I agree with that, Scott. Like at the end of the day, never mind the fact that he's returning really, really well. He's just so cheap. and he's still so cheap. And he's Chelsea's talisman and is on penalties.
It's like Matoma last season.
Yeah, you just can't like not have him, even for team structure moving forward. He's just dirt cheap. Yeah, Saka is a relatively obvious one, like we've said already in terms of output so far this season. I'll get the statistics up anyway as well for this one because it is important. But he constantly continues to deliver. He's right up there if you don't have him already. Foden as an asset, I don't think we've really discussed him enough. So would you move on? I mean, you've got Foden, haven't you, Baz, at the moment?
I have, yeah.
Happy having him, happy holding him. Would you buy him now if he was an option to buy?
Probably not, to be honest, because Kevin De Bruyne is coming back, and I don't think Pep likes playing them both for some strange reason. Foden was kind of the fall guy in that situation, and I think it might change because obviously he did have different wingers at that time. But for me, I don't see how they both play in the same team. Alvarez might drop, and I'm just worried that is a rotation risk like he was in the past. So I probably wouldn't be looking at doing it and gambling on the Pep roulette.
It all of a sudden becomes like, oh, City have got two players in every position again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like when he comes back with Doku, Grealish, and then, you know, players like Bernardo who can play out on the right as well, and this, that, and the other, it starts to become a little bit more difficult. I'm really tempted by him, but I feel like I've missed the boat. You know, with his 2 hauls, I feel like I might be just going there too late and chasing points, even though their fixtures look so good. But yeah, so far this season, it is Salah at the top, obviously 156, Son with 136, then Bowen at 111, no one's surprised. And then Saka with 107 points. Hwang's in there with 100, ton up for Hwang. Obviously, he's away as well in the Asia Cup. Then it's Gordon with 97, Foden 96. My boy Douglas Luiz with 94 that everyone still continues to overlook somehow at 5.6. And then Cole Palmer with 2 points less than Douglas Luiz with only 2 less appearances, but with 92 points. And then Mbeumo. Imagine if Mbeumo had not got injured. You have another 5 appearances to add to that for 87 points. But it does feel a little bit like we're all going to be moving towards, if you haven't got Saka already, you're getting him. If you haven't got Palmer already, you're getting him. And we'll have very similar midfield. So I really like that thought process from Scott and yourself to maybe go a bit different with De Bruyne. I think hopefully it'll reap rewards. The other 2 teams I want to discuss briefly in terms of replacements are the 2 teams that are losing the players. So how do we think that Liverpool are going to be lining up? And are we considering any options from Liverpool to replace Salah directly? How do you feel about Jota, Diaz? They're the main 2, I'd have thought, because obviously Darwin's up top and Gakpo's a striker on the game, but doesn't really seem to play up front still. So Jota versus Diaz. What are your thoughts, Scotty?
For me, comfortably Jota. I know there's a 0.5 million difference there, but like you said, money shouldn't. 0.7.
Yeah, 7 point. Oh no, sorry, no, 0.5. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah,
you are right, Scott.
Sorry. I know my eyes are quite bad, but
sorry, my bad, my fault.
That's right. But like you said, money's not you know, unless you're just holding players because you don't know what you're doing. You should be absolutely be able to afford him. I would say even if money was, you know, still an object, I would still go for Jota. I think he's just looking so dangerous when he gets on the ball. I forget watching the FA Cup game. He's so good in the air. He's so good in the air. He's such an aerial threat. It's like he just reminds me of Tim Cahill. Not a tall player, but man, what a leap! And he just seems to be coming into his own. He seems to be coming into that purple patch again. Yes, Luis Diaz scored a great goal. And I absolutely would not going to sit and say don't get Luis Diaz, but if there was one of them, and I wouldn't want to double up on Liverpool midfield, for me, it would be Jota at this moment in time.
I couldn't agree more. Jota's got 1 more point than him this season in half the minutes. He's got 5 goals and 4 assists compared to Diaz's 3 goals and 2 assists. I also feel like Klopp likes to play him through the middle. And I feel like he likes to play him through the middle with potentially Diaz, and he likes to play Darwin wide left sometimes, doesn't he, as well, in those circumstances. Maybe Diaz will fill in on the right for a bit. I don't know. I don't know what they'll do. My only worry is that Jota fills in on the right and he plays Darwin through the middle and Diaz on the left. But still, I think there's still potential. Baz, your thoughts on Liverpool? Is Jota? Would you go for Jota over Foden? That's a question. Because that's a question I genuinely have in my head.
Yeah, I would actually, just for the reason that he plays down the middle, and as Scott mentioned, he does look lively. Even though I really wanted to disagree with Scott, but I can't. And another thing as well is for YouTube watchers, Jota's minutes compared to Diaz's minutes, and they've got the exact same points by one. So yeah, so it's like he's a massive threat. He plays down the middle, and that's where he will be playing for Liverpool. I can't see him playing on wide because Gakpo, I don't rate him, but he actually plays better on the left, and Nunes plays better on the left as well because he's out of harm's way and he can't miss 50 chances and score one.
Harm's way.
He can't score. He can't finish out there. So yeah. So with that, it's one of them. I think them two look better coming from wide, whereas Jota's he's just a great player to watch, and on an FPL basis, get you actually points as well. So yeah, for me, Jota.
Yeah, Jota, I agree with that. Spurs. So with Maddison, we still don't know when he's going to be back. If that's changed whilst we've been recording, apologies. We've obviously got Turbo Timo, who's just signed for them. Good old Timo Werner, who's coming to the 6.5 million forward on the game.
Yep.
So that's an interesting change. It kind of makes him not an option in FPL straight away. I was kind of hoping he'd be like a 6.5 million midfielder, but never mind. Who do you like the look of out of Spurs, Scott?
Tricky one, isn't it? Again, you don't really know what you're going to get with him, and I feel like with Liverpool, I feel like can carry on through Salah and grind some results out. I do worry about Spurs about Son. He's obviously the club captain. Well, I don't know if he's club captain. I guess that's still Hugo Lloris for now, but he's the captain.
He is. Yeah, Lloris has gone to
Galaxy. No, of course he has. Yeah. So he's obviously that vocal person. He inspires the team and leads them, and everything they do usually comes through him. So I think they're going to struggle, if I'm completely honest with you. Richarlison, yeah, he's just
he's very popular.
Yeah,
this week. So this is again why I wanted to have this conversation, because I kind of feel the same way as you do about it, Scott. I really hope Baz disagrees.
Yeah, I like from sort of watching him in the eye test. I really like Brendan Johnson. I think he's
okay.
I think he might not be returning, but I think he looks dangerous. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not sucked in my Spurs at the minute, and I think that they're a big worry about creating chances about Son.
Especially with that Maddison as well, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two together being missing. I mean, they've really missed Maddison anyway. Finally settled into playing without him a little bit, and then they're missing Son. So yeah.
One thing I will say really quickly on Timo Werner, I was a big fan of Timo Werner prior to him coming in the Premier League. I think he's a goal scorer, and he's obviously got blistering pace. He didn't do it for as a number 9 for Chelsea, but no one does it as a number 9 for Chelsea. So he's not the only one. It'd be an interesting one. I hope he hits the ground running, because I don't want him to be one of these where it's he's not scored, like going for like a Nunes kind of thing. So I think if he gets a goal, he can then start hitting some form, and he can also he's quite flexible as well, Werner, so he can kind of play on the wings as well. So I can see him slotting in quite well. But yeah, not one I'm jumping on at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like he'll probably end up playing midfield then as well. So, if you had to pick one, Scott, for a come to you, Baz, would you go for Kulu, Richarlison, Johnson, or Werner? I think that's probably the fair 4 players to have to pick from.
Yeah, I'd go for the one that I've not even mentioned.
Talk about everyone else. I'll go Kulu. Yeah.
Something I usually do that.
Okay, Kulu. Barry, your thoughts?
I'm a Richarlison owner. I jumped on him a couple of weeks ago. He hasn't really done a lot for me, to be honest. But
not one to brag about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. But with that, obviously Johnson does pass the eye test, but his just end product's not there. He might as well play for Man United if he's like that. I've been quite impressed with Lo Celso. I think he looks quite good, but the only problem is you've got all them other attacking players. He's not going to
really quickly. Can you just pronounce his name again?
I love that as well.
Lo Celso.
Yes,
I
prefer him being called Lo Celso. Lo Celso.
That's it. The silencer. So with that, he's not going to get a lot of FPL points, but on the way of how Ange plays, I think he joins the defense and the midfield, and he comes deep like what Maddison was doing, and just having like a free roll and getting the ball and spreading it about. I think Werner's going to be actually a really good signing for Spurs. It's very clever business with a potential 50 million buy outright as well. So, and I think he suits Ange's style of play. So, with the high press and I think he's more of a wide man than out and out centre forward. And with Richarlison obviously getting back in with the goals, I think it's not a direct replacement for Son because Son's so good, but obviously it's a very good backup placement for Son. So that's why I probably would still keep Richarlison because he's down the centre. So for me, Richarlison.
So we've got Richarlison, Kulu. I think I'm probably with you, Baz. I think I probably just go Richarlison if I was going to go for a Spurs player. But I think if you're going to stick with Spurs and Liverpool, probably it's Jota first, isn't it? I think not really. Probably I would go Jota first.
What's happened with Werner? I've just been looking and he's fallen out with them. Like he's barely played, hasn't he? He's spelled with his injured, but
yeah, don't know. It's just it seems a little bit weird.
Oh no, Luis Openda's been brilliant. I don't know. Interesting one.
Just can't seem to get in the team. It seems. Let's before we move on to Brighton and have a look at them in a little bit of detail. Garnacho, lads, Man United. I've got to shout him out as a player that seems to be doing quite well at this very moment in time. He seems to be relatively nailed in the team. He is currently 4.8 million, I think, off the top of my head. So he's incredible. Yeah, 4.8 million, 5.2% owned. Incredibly budget. He's got 18 points in his last 2 games. Thoughts on him as a? I mean, he's probably the only attacking option for Man United you'd look at getting. But thoughts on him as a budget option, Scott?
I like it. Like the guy. Like the kid. Yeah, I think he's got everything to be a really successful footballer. He's only 19 as well. Like when I went to Old Trafford last season, and he really stood out actually as a player. I was really impressed by him. Yeah, again, like he's certainly someone, especially when money becomes more of an issue on the game. He's one that you would want to get in your team. And he's got the flair. He's quite cool in front of the goal, actually. He seems to take his chances quite well. And we'll talk about the eye test again. He's really fun to have on the eye test. And I know you shouldn't really care about this, but genuinely, when I've got like footballers in my fantasy team, I quite like him. I like him as a footballer. I think he's, doing what a lot of Man United players have not done over the last. He seems to give a crap, and I like that.
Yeah, take responsibility on the.
And he mainly gives a crap clearly about getting me points on fantasy football because that's all he should be worried about if I bring him in.
He definitely cares about missing chances as well, and he can tell he's holding himself to account. The West Ham game he was devastated about, so he should have won that game, and he missed 2 chances in it. Other than that, he's been relatively clinical. Baz, Garnacho as a budget option. You know, we're talking cheap 5th midfielder here, not talking about someone who's, you know.
Yeah, we're discussing about, obviously we've got bundles of money to have and to spend, and now we're talking about budget midfielders. But yeah, he is definitely the only one really on my list as a budget midfielder that I'll probably be looking at getting. He's looked really good going onto the right as well. I know he was playing obviously in Rashford's shadow on the left, but with obviously going on the right, he can obviously cut in and also go down the sides. And by going down the sides and whipping across in, that's what Højlund feeds off. So by whipping them balls in, and Højlund obviously got some good movement, he just needs his obviously shooting boots on. He could have had a handful against Wigan, what I saw of the game. And any other day, I think Garnacho gets 2 assists and a potential goal where he smashes the crossbar from 20 odd yards or something as well. So yeah, definitely be looking at getting him if I needed a budget player.
I think again he's going to be someone we probably don't look at this week. I mean, he might be, but you know, if Haaland's back potentially. But if moving forward, if we have to try fit Trent, Salah, Son, Haaland, Watkins, De Bruyne, all into one
Can it be
team,
done?
I don't think that can be done. But like, you know, if you've got, let's say for example, Salah and De Bruyne with maybe Foden, I don't know, Foden, Saka, maybe something like that, then having Garnacho and Palmer along with Archer becomes something that a lot of people would do. You know, it's cheaper options to squeeze them into your team. I want to discuss Brighton because their fixtures are insane before we have a look at our the AI wildcard team, our differential drafts and do fixtures and captains. But Brighton discussion, Pascal Gross is their top scoring player this year in terms of FPL points. He has got 3 goals and 6 assists with 82 points off 18 appearances. Only one of them coming off the bench. So that's 17 starts in 20 games. João Pedro has appeared in every match. That's right, isn't it? They played 20 matches and not 21. It's going into game week 20. Yeah, 20. Game week 20 we've had. So 20, but only but 11 have been substitute appearances. But he has got 7 goals and 2 assists and 71 points. Matoma is next with a very unimpressive 63. I've got to say 3 goals and 5 assists off 17 appearances. We obviously, Estupinian's only had 8 appearances this season and got 37 points. Are we looking any further here with Brighton than Gross? Maybe, but he's 6.4 million. João Pedro was a 3rd striker to your Watkins, Haaland or whatever, and then Estupinian. Are we looking any further than these guys, Baz? Or what do you think of Brighton?
The thing with Brighton is they rotate more than probably what Pep's done this season. You don't know who's going to potentially start. So you could have João Pedro in like me and you, Alex, did at the start and thinking, yeah, he's going to be great. And then he don't play for like 3 or 4 games. He only comes on as a sub and you're like, well, what's going on here? And Ferguson's obviously lost his shooting boots. So I don't know where they are. Welbeck, they rotate quite a lot in them attacking roles. They've tried to play like Ferguson and João Pedro together, and obviously one of them drops deep and gets the ball. I think there's only really for me that's Estupinian that I'd really like to get. I know I'd want more because of the fixtures, but I'd just be ripping up the team and just thinking, well, why have I got Pascal Gross in? He doesn't. He's got the points to prove that he can do it, but it's like it's not really an excitement one. I see the eye test, and he does do certain things that I think, yeah, that looks good, but he doesn't do it all the time when he gets the ball. So for me, I'd just be going for Stupin, yeah.
I'm looking at the statistics here as well for Brighton, and you know they're doing okay this year, considering they're balancing Europe as well. You know, it has to be said. And I don't want to sound patronising to Brighton here as a football club and everything else, but I think the way that they're balancing Europe and the Premier League at the moment is actually really good for a club of their size and budget, etc. I think they're using the squad well, but it also does feel like De Zerbi's getting these players. Deserves getting these players to perform well, but they're actually out. All of these players are outperforming their XGI. So, for an example, for podcast listeners, sorry,
what you got to think as well for Brighton is Mitoma's gone and Dringer's gone, and you've got like Bonaiate to replace him and Lallana. So, yeah, attacking wise, is there going to be that much creativity for them forward players? So, sorry.
Gross's expected goal involvement this season 7.5. He's got 9. João Pedro's the exception, 10.1. He's got 9. Matoma's XGI is 6.5. He's been involved in 8 goals. Ferguson's is 4.3. He's been involved in 7 goals. Adringa's is 3.7. He's been involved in 5 goals. And it just goes on and all the way down to Stupinian at 2.5 XGI, and he's been involved in 5. Like, it does feel like all of their players are outperforming their expected stats, like in terms of goals and production. It only worries me a little bit that are they going to burn out, and are they even going to make the most of these fixtures? So I just don't know. But Brighton, for me, just feel like a team that's really on the edge of they could end up finishing 12th or 7th. I really don't know. For me, it's a Stupinian is basically a bit of a no-brainer because he's relatively cheap and has attacking output, and they've got a good run of fixtures, so he's a pretty safe gamble. Other than that, I genuinely don't think I'm going to buy anybody else from Brighton. Scott, your thoughts on the Brighton options?
Billy Gilmore, innit? Got to be done.
What a guy.
On like Callum picked, wasn't it? Jesus. Good job, I'm back. No, I agree. I think Brighton have really actually gone under the radar a bit. The 7th in the league and they're playing European football. West Ham played European football last year. Obviously did very well, won it. Very, very nearly got relegated. So to balance that, the way they've done is actually, it's really impressive. Like, they're above Man United, Newcastle, Chelsea, a Wolves team on form. I think that's really good. And they're only 3 points behind West Ham. West Ham have been getting lots and lots of sort of plaudits as well. So, yeah, they're not as exciting this season, I don't think. You know, like you say, your Mitoma had really good purple patches last year. But, yeah, probably just agree with you on that one, lads, on Stupinian.
A lot of people will be wild carding and considering their wild card options this week. And let's just go to here, shall we? Because it's closed on me, which is brilliant. A lot of people considering wild card options. This is what you get for trying to do a podcast and bringing this up. Let me see if I can do this now. The Fantasy Football Hub did a artificial intelligence wildcard draft, which I'm assuming you probably can't see on this screen right now. But never mind. Let me have a look, and I'll try and see if we get up. Can you see that, Baz and Scott?
No,
you can't. Baz, while I'm getting this up, you had a look at a wildcard draft, didn't you? And what you would do if you were wildcarding. Talk the podcast listeners and the YouTube listeners through the players that you were considering as your options to go through whilst I sort out this beautiful picture mess.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it. Just doing a you, Alex, to be honest, mate.
I've dropped this on you because the thing that this is closed on my screen.
You want me to do a wrap or something?
First thoughts. Obviously, I was going to keep Areola in with Martinez as the other keeper. I just thought Aston Villa's fixtures and they're looking quite defensively sound as well. And I thought Martinez makes obviously some big saves, so you're going to get save points on that. Defence-wise, obviously I liked a bit of Arsenal defence, so I was unsure who to go for. And obviously, I'm a Zinni fan, so probably I would have just stick with Zinchenko since I'm already an owner.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea as well, because obviously they had some good fixtures and obviously Gusto was cheap, so I was thinking potentially get him in. Porro as well. I just think he's looked really, really good going forward. Obviously, Tottenham's fixtures aren't great going through, but and defensively they play a very, very high line. So you're not going to get a lot of clean sheets from that. Branthwaite, obviously for Everton with Dyche, you're probably going to get a solid defence. Estupinian, as we just touched upon, the reasons for that. Then obviously I was going to get Saka in, just because the Arsenal fixtures are good. Obviously still have Richarlison, just because he's playing central. Foden, even though I'm probably going to change that and get Jota and have Bowen. And then obviously Kevin De Bruyne, keep Haaland, Watkins, and have a Archer. So that was mine.
Can you see this team now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant. So Fantasy Football Hub did an AI team as well, and it had Raya and Dubravka as the keepers, Estupinian, Gabriel, Trippier, Walker, and Porro. So quite a lot of money at the back. But it had those 5 as the defenders. Midfield of Saka, Palmer, Gordon, Foden, Richarlison, and then up front it had Solanke, Watkins, and Alvarez. I mean, you can see how much money that they've got there. Like, there's just loads of money to throw around. That's obviously if Haaland's not back. I don't like the structure of this team in that sense. I think it needs sort of one cheaper option, probably up front, maybe like an Archer or something like that, just to go in there to balance it out. And probably one cheaper defensive option to make sure you've got some money. I mean, I've probably been off maybe Gabriel for an example, and I've definitely been off Trippier at the moment, and have some 2 cheaper options, and probably keep Areola and Dubravka because they seem to be doing really well. But then you have that money aside for bringing Salah back quite quickly, and obviously Haaland back as well. But it just goes to show, even with the AI and points predictions and everything else, everyone's moving down a very similar route. And this seems like the options here. Differential draft, lads. So we already picked it. We already did it for this week. So I'm going to get these up on the screen now, and hopefully you can see all 3 of them. I know B's on top of A. Can you see all of those, chaps? Can you see all 3 of those?
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Team A. Who was Team A?
Me.
Talk us through your team, Scott. Why'd you pick the players that you picked?
Panic. It was the number 1 reason. This is obviously usually done quite quick fire, but I stuff came up and the lads were waiting about an hour for my pick. Apologies. But yeah, just a quick one actually. I got the most points.
You did.
That's right. I got the most points, so therefore I was I was the final pick. Don't know why I'm number A. Actually, it's quite confusing. But anyway, that's on Baz. Yeah, Petrovic in goal. Under 1% keeper. Fulham at home. I know it's Chelsea, but come on, half a chance of keeping a clean sheet there. Konate, bit of a gamble one for rotation wise, but it was outstanding against Arsenal. So I would be shocked to see him get rotated. Against Sheffield United at home, fully expect a clean sheet there.
It's actually Bournemouth away. Sorry, my graphics, I did it wrong.
No, that's all right. It's just feedback I'm going to give you. We'll take it offline as
do it
well.
live. Do it live.
It's just terrible, mate.
First one back of the year, lads. First one back of the year.
Yeah. So yeah, I've locked up at least 12 points there already in clean sheets in my head. Yeah. Sterling, Fulham at home. It's Fulham at home. It's Raheem Sterling. Apparently only scores against rubbish teams. Not saying Fulham are rubbish. Semi-finalists in the League Cup, but yeah. Doku again, bit of a gamble. Might get rotated, but he took his goal well in the FA Cup, and he has looked really good in places. And Chris Wood, not going to say I didn't really have any options left up front, but he has been in some good form, hasn't he? So Brentford away, not been keeping too many clean sheets. So yeah, brilliant team, well done.
I like it. You took my keeper, so I went for Trafford. Luton at home, just 1.1%. Thought I'd have something on that Friday night football. Desperate for a clean sheet for Burnley. Emerson at the back thinks West Ham have kept 2 clean sheets in a row, I think, maybe even 3. They've done really well. 1.5% Sheffield United away. I've gone for the gamble on De Bruyne because, why the hell not? Newcastle away might deliver. Jota, obviously we've discussed him. Really pleased with that pick at 2.9% with Bournemouth away. And I think Tony will come in against Nottingham Forest. I think he'll start, and I think he'll smash them to pieces. I don't think he'll play 90 minutes, but I think he'll probably play 60. And I like at 0.5% ownership. Easy pick on a differential, really. When I think I went first, didn't I? So I picked him first. I thought it was quite an easy first pick gamble, because considering strikers are so thin on the ground. Baz.
So I had second pick, and obviously I had the last pick on my goalkeeper, and I didn't really like any others. So I thought the coin flip between Luton and Burnley
Bring it on,
are
Baz.
quite good.
Bring on the 0-0.
So I thought, right, I'll have Kaminsky because you're potentially going to get save points, or at least I'm probably going to get 3 points. I'm hoping on that one. Then I've gone for Thiago Silva's potential goal threat, as well as a potential clean sheet at Fulham. Fingers crossed, Raul Jimenez and Willian's not on form. Then I've gone for Pascal Gross because I panicked a bit and I thought they're playing quite well. Wolves without Wang, so I thought maybe potential clean sheet for Brighton,
big
even though
defender
they only got one this season.
Yes.
So I think Gross was a potential shout that I probably shouldn't have really done, but I've gone for it. And then Diaz, obviously, is my under 10, so I thought, right, I'm having him in because he's looked really good and he took his goal really well against Arsenal. And I went for Breuer up front, thinking Chelsea are going to potentially create some chances. Didn't play on Tuesday, even though obviously I thought he might have done. But obviously, hopefully he's just rested for Fulham at home and potentially get me some goals and go from there and hopefully win it. But it looks awful on paper.
Yeah. I like the Gross pick, actually. I don't mind the Gross pick at all. I'm obviously really hoping that Chelsea concede and Liverpool concede. And then Baz is really hoping that City don't do anything, I think, as well. So it's I think we've got some good draft picks there. Scott, who wins?
Me. Oh, sorry. No, Baz, because he's the luckiest man in the world when it comes to this 5-star draft.
Baz, who wins?
I think yours does, mate. B.
Honestly, I can see Kaminsky coming up and scoring.
Header from a corner, last minute.
Yeah.
No, you said Gross was going to miss a penalty in last minute, and I lose, don't you?
I absolutely. I feel like Pascal Gross is just going to miss a pen, and really, because I actually think he's quite a good pick. But when I think he's a good pick, it probably doesn't pay off. Right, let's do game week 21 and let's do captains and let's wrap this up. Deadline, because the game's had to move because the FA Cups is now Friday the 12th of January. It wasn't Friday, it was Saturday before. So if anyone set it in their calendar, you need to reset it. Friday the 12th of January at 1:15. I know you did, Scott. At 6:15.
Sorry, I don't know about the deadline setting. I thought you were on about for a minute there. People setting to watch Burnley Luton. Anyway, carry on.
No, don't worry about that. But yes, 6:15 on Friday the 12th of January. You need to get your team sorted out by. And that is a full 10 days ahead of the final game of this game week, which is Brighton versus Wolves. It's my least favourite game week of the season, this one. I absolutely despise it. Because it's
Do you prefer an international game week?
Well, at least internationals, there's no not fixtures over a big period of time. I to plan for FPL for this just hurts my head. Burnley, Luton, Chelsea, Fulham, Newcastle City, Everton, Villa, Man U, Spurs. That wraps up the first batch of fixtures. Then it's Arsenal, Palace, Brentford, Forest, Sheffield United, West Ham, Bournemouth, Liverpool, and then it wraps up with a Monday Night Football at Brighton at home to Wolves. Liverpool and West Ham play in the second half of this, which is obviously, do we hold on to Trent for 1 week? I mean, I'm probably going to hold on to him and just bench him and see if he just misses 1 week, even though he's out for 3 physical weeks. And then Bowen doesn't play until the 21st, which is great. And I've already transferred him in. So I don't know. I still don't know what I'm going to do there. Captaincy, lads. Where are you on? Where's your armband at the moment on your bus team, Scott?
It's an interesting one again, isn't it? Because you leave it to that second half. You're risking injuries in training, aren't you? So it's annoying, isn't it? The first fixture that yeah, the first fixture that jumped out was Arsenal, therefore Saka. If I'm completely honest, I hate my feelings about another kickoff. I don't like it. It's a derby. Well, it's a London derby anyway. Not sure how much them teams actually despise of each other. But yeah, the first one I looked at there would be Saka, or Palmer would be the two for me out of them, and I wouldn't know what to do.
The too early kickoffs. Then thing is, as
Yeah,
well,
I hate it.
If Bowen was fit, I'd have it on Bowen. I think, and that's what's that. But I can't captain him because he might not be fit, might not play. So I mean, it definitely won't be him.
You're captain, and then your vice captain, your captain. So
yeah, and I know he normally starts or doesn't play at all, Bowen. I get that. Like he's not the player that normally comes off the bench for 20 minutes. But it because also then my vice captain would be Saka, probably. So, but I wouldn't do that because I wouldn't have a captain and a vice in the second half. I'd try to get like a banker in the first half. So I think if I was going to do it, if I was going to gamble on the captain of Bowen, I'd probably vice captain Palmer. I think that's what I'd do. It's either that or I'm going to captain Saka and vice captain Palmer. I think that's my choices. I don't really mind the Villa away for Watkins, to be honest. Everton's home form's not been that good, but they seem to have been doing okay. And then also we've got to remember that if you're bringing in Jota, again, I would potentially captain Jota against Bournemouth away, and then go for a
good form at Bournemouth.
Yeah, be a good array of captains. I think this week it'd be a good array of captains. At the moment, my armband sits on Saka and my vice sits on Palmer. That's where I've got at the moment. Barry.
I've got captain Palmer and vice captain. I think it's still on Richarlison, I think, because I was going to captain obviously Bowen, and then obviously I have vice captain Palmer, so I might just do that. And if Bowen doesn't play, I don't think he's going to play because they've said on TalkSport that he's going to miss a few games, so I don't think he's going to be fit for that game. So.
So it's important we point that out, isn't it? Because you've heard that on TalkSport. Then I read an article that was only released 3 hours ago that said he was going to miss 2 weeks, so he might even be back for that game. So then I think we won't know. Hopefully, we get a press conference from David Moyes to maybe get a bit of clarity on it. But I still don't think we even will. I think we'll get clarity if he's definitely out. I think he'll probably say, like Paquetá is going to be out for a while, but it's difficult. So Saka for me, Palmer for Baz. Scott?
Yeah, I think we'll go Saka.
Yeah, that's where we're all sat at the moment. For the most enjoyable long game week of the season. Before, then we get stuck into the midweek game week straight afterwards. It's the game week, game week ends on Monday the 22nd of January. Then is it FA Cup? I think then the weekend. And then it's a midweek game week where all basically the games are on TNT Sports. What a life. It all gets very confusing. We've got a Friday deadline and followed by Tuesday the 30th of January deadline at 6 o'clock. But lads, right. That wraps it up for this week. Few hiccups along the way, but we got there, chaps. Thanks ever so much for joining me. It's great to have you both back. It's great to have you both back in houses and not in hotel rooms or in vans. And it's lovely that you can go home and hopefully you're at home already, as you can have your tea. Don't forget to like the video if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and also to give us a 5-star rating on where you get your podcasts from, and then to subscribe to our social media platforms. Follow us all over Pod, over P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Scott, goodbye.
Alex, cheers. Really quickly, Baz, what you're on for your tea? I'm going to guess shepherd's pie.
I'd take away, mate.
Ah, okay. No, I respect it.
He's getting his skirting boards done. Felt like a Domino's all day long, that, didn't it?
It's just a bit of an innuendo, that, isn't it? Getting your skirting boards done.
I'm just angling for sponsorship. If you ordered your Domino's at the beginning of this podcast, you hopefully will have got it by the end of it. But yes, thanks very much for joining us, everyone. Enjoy your tea, and goodbye for now.